And the last type of reflective history is specialized, so seeing things as part of a greater whole. And it's kind of a transitory thing into the actual philosophical history. And philosophical history is kind of thinking about the why and stuff like that. If the philosopher approaches history with thoughts of this kind, so thinking of the why and really critically, then he's dealing with history as raw material, not to be left as it is, but to be constructed according to thoughts. So it's kind of like seeing history in the bigger picture, and a big part of doing that is Hegel's idea of spirit, which is this kind of transcendent, otherworldly force that acts through history to come to a self-knowledge and interacts with the world historical figures in order to realize itself in the realization of their particular goals. And I'd like to use kind of an analogy, if I can, like put spirit on a microcosm, just something that everyone can kind of relate to. The way I think of spirit is like when you were a kid and you were growing up, you had all these particular experiences, like, oh, when I was 5, I fell off my bike and scraped my knee, and just trauma and good things and happy and sad memories that all sort of add up to eventually help you realize who you are as a person and realize yourself. And at the time, you can't really see them as part of that greater whole, but looking back into history, you kind of realize how every single event has made you able to realize who you are and kind of define you. And there's an interesting thought in that this history, these events are kind of like when spirit is very present in world historical figures. Like you get people who are really passionate about fulfilling one particular goal, and that passion is their expression of spirit, and that just happens to be manifest greater in them than in most people. Yeah. I'm trying to find a good quote. We say, therefore, that nothing at all has come to pass without the interest of those whose activity is involved in it. And since we call an interest a passion, when all of one's individuality, to the neglect of all other interests and purposes one might have, is placed in the service of some cause. So there's this kind of one-track mind of the world historical figure trying to achieve their particular goal, but through that, spirit helps to actualize itself. And that principle, Hegel calls the cunning of reason. So, particular interest linked to passion is thus inseparable from the actualization of the universal principles. So the universal principle meaning spirit's rise to self-knowledge. For the universal is the outcome of the particular and determinate, and from its negation. An interesting thing that Hegel does is he tries to make everyone see that things can still exist and their negation and like the opposite of what they are is still possible, even if it's just this is what didn't happen. It is the particular that is involved in the struggle with others, and of which one part is doomed to perish. It is not the universal idea which involves itself in antithesis and struggle, exposing itself to danger. It remains in the background and is preserved against attack or injury. So spirit never actually puts itself on the line in these sort of historical struggles that help to allow it to come to self-knowledge. And this may be called the cunning of reason, like the kind of like keeping itself out of harm's way while allowing other people to kind of take the fall or take the brunt of the opposition. It allows the passions to work for it, while what it brings into existence suffers loss and injury.
1 minute.
I have 1 minute?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, yeah, just kind of to sum up, Hegel's 3 different kinds of history, original, reflective, and and philosophic. Spirit coming to self-knowledge, and in that event is the realization of a universal human freedom. Sorry about that.
That's alright.
And this universal human freedom is like the outcome of Spirit's self-knowledge, this human freedom, kind of like Hegel saw the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Man at the beginning of the French Revolution as this great sort of end point where Spirit has fulfilled its purpose. And even today the world we live in is not perfect, we're still sort of figuring out how to make everyone happy and make everyone free. But this struggle is the outcome of Spirit. Now it's not really a question of if, because Spirit has done its job, it's a question of when. And so that's why...
I got 8 seconds.
We're living in the end of history.